Okay, so overloading is when you have like this. I'm overloading because it's a function here, no parameter. The student same thing has different parameters. So when you do that, you have this is called overloading, either the functional constructor. Overriding, I'll show you really quick before we go, is this. Just to clarify this part here. So I'm going to do really quick here. You don't have to do this. I'm going to show you really quick. We'll do override here. Okay, override. I have two classes. We'll call this is just the example pet class. I have another class called the dog class. Okay, so the pet class is the parent class. This is the parent. Inside the pet class, you have a function. Going to call it void. We just say move with something, right? Move, and then we'll just say system out I walk. Okay, which is I walk. That's a default, let's say, for all pets. They walk. Okay, and the child class, this is the child. And to make this as child class, you have to say extends. I'm extending the pet class. So this makes this a child class. That means it owns everything the parent has plus its own, right? It's like you inherit everything from the parent, like if that's true in real life, right?
It inherits everything from the pet class.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let's just say the pet class, we're going to have a field in here. We call it private string. We'll call it the name. Okay, and by default, if you don't supply, we're just going to call this Otis. Let's say Otis is the default name, right? So the dogs will also have a name field, and also has a function called move, because it inherits everything in there. So if I save this, and I'll create the main program now, we'll call this is the main program. We'll have this constructor in this main method here. Okay, so I'm going to create an object of type pet, new pet, right? I'm calling it pet directly. I'll call this function, this class directly. So when I display the name, I'll just say sysout pet name will be pet dot. I didn't put a setter and getters. Let's do that really quick here. So I'll do a setter and getter for that. Right click, source getter and setter for the pet. The dog doesn't have, dog has nothing, so we'll leave it as it's empty. Okay, so I'm going to say pet dot get name. Okay, I will duplicate this line. Also show the walk. Pet move. So we see. Just say get move. Not pet. We just move. The move function. I have to make that void. Oh, yeah, it's not returning anything, so I can't do that. I have to say just move. Right, it's just a function, return nothing. I cannot put inside the parameter here. So it prints the name, and then it will print the move. So if you run this, you see that the name is Otis, and then it says I walk, right? That's the pet. Now, if I create another one here, I'll call this is dog. Is new dog. Okay. If I copy this, go down here. Instead of let's just say dog name, and instead of pet, I put dog. So notice I could put dog dot. Also get the get name, right? Even though I don't have a function called getName inside the dog class. Since it doesn't have it, it's going to go to the parent and see if it has one. If it does, then use it. Okay? If it doesn't, then you have an error. So it's going to call the parent set dog, and then set getName, and then also say dog move. And in this case, both will be exactly the same because I'm calling the same parent class, right? So the data is exactly the same, although they're completely different objects. So this is inheriting, and the dog inherits everything in the parent class called pet. And so it will use the data field name, and then the function here will also be here used as well. So now let's look at overriding. So I said that, just say that instead of dog walk, the dog actually crawls, right? I know it's not true, but so in here I'm going to say public void. So basically you copy this function here, the exact same function, you put it into the dog class, and then I'll just say I crawl. Okay. And if you go back and run the program, you'll see that now, instead of saying I walk, it says I crawl. Okay? It calls its local function instead of the global function, which is the parent function. And then the name will still be Otis. If you want to change that name, then you can go here, dog.setName, and set a new name. Okay, so this is what's called a overriding, or override. I'm overriding the parent's function called move. So notice if I change that move to have the type of, let's just say that I'm returning just example, I'll have another function called public integer type, and just say get age or something, right? I'll return, let's just say return 5. Okay, I'll copy this function because it's in the parent class. Add it to the dog. The dog also has its own function called get age. So age will return 15, for example. If I do that, then of course the age will be 15 and not right. So right. So when you call it, it's going to call the local function because this is an overriding function over the parent. If I happen to change this to a, let's just say I want to change it to a double instead. Okay, and I'll put that like a decimal value. You'll see that there's an error there. Okay, the error says return type is not compatible with the pet.getAge, right? Because I have the same name called function getAge. The parent has one too. The parent is getAge, but the parent is a return of type integer, and mine returns a type double, and therefore it doesn't match. Right? So therefore I cannot use this function getAge unless I change this to match the parent, in this case to integer type. And if I want to use the getAge, well, maybe I can change it to a function with a capital G. Now it's a completely different function, so it's different. So it's no longer overriding, but to show you that the signature means including the data type return plus the name of the function plus any parameter inside. Otherwise, you will fail. You have an error because if you look at it, it's almost like writing this function inside the parent class here again, right? Because you're extending two classes, it's like they belong to one. So the parent's function is visible inside the child function class. So therefore, if you put them together this way, you see that you cannot use the same function this way. Right, back to the overloading method. But because I moved that out to the child class, so therefore so I can do some different calculations in here. The type return must match exactly the parameter. Everything here must match. Okay. All differences in here might be different. I can do some calculation here, return, I have to return the same data type. So that's the overriding part. Deals with the parent and child.